was a solid pickup. They were lacking a good source of damage, I believe, one more, and a support. So that's the Valier for Singapore. Now, with these two lineups locked in, Chantel, I gotta ask you, what are you favoring? What's your prediction for game one?
Actually, for this game number one, I like the composition here of Team Singapore because they have the burst support. It's kind of difficult for this Cooper to dive in whenever the sitting turret is there, comes from the Valier. So I'll go for Singapore for this one because of the draft pick. Yeah.
You're right. You're right. They had a solid first 1 to 4, and that Valier, that very last pick, the Valier, I believe that is such a key role that he has to play, especially in pushing away the Cho and the Kufra. I literally just said what you said, but again, it begs to be repeated because it's such a great pickup. I don't know how it came through, but again, that just shows how open the meta is. So yeah, I guess that's a unanimous decision here from the panel. And of course, before the game, your casters. Is this going to be a fast game or a shorter game? What do you think?
Actually, for this one, just like we've said earlier, they are familiar with each other, so I'm guessing this is gonna be a really, really long game. If you are playing with a familiar team, you know the rotation, you know the gameplay. But again, this is the Razer Sea-Invitational Team Malaysia versus Team Singapore.
Game one in a series of two, and here we see a big presence in mid. Wow, already using his flicker. Zorn on the Selena, Rumpel on the Kufra, and Peaks on that Ling. So yesterday we saw Zorn on the core. Now they're giving it over to Peaks, and it's still Lia Lia on their core on the other end. Team Singapore here, allowing Lia to take the purple, and yeah, no invades.
Oh, you know what, Leo? I was actually guessing that Team Singapore would go for an invade, but because they have the Valier. But then again, they never or they didn't opt to go for that one because they are also mindful of this counter initiation play confirm. If you want to negate a Ling as much as possible, you need to take all the buff away from him.
Yep, you gotta neutralize him. Choke him out earlier on, but it looks like it's not gonna happen. But look, big team fight up top. That's the first blood. Sana taken down by Zorn. And Jason with the torrents blazing the way by Lia. Misses out on Art, but they will take down Zorn. It's a 1-for-1.
Okay, so as we can see here, right, that actually for Team Singapore, that's already an edge for them because they have the upper hand on to that game because we can see the aggressiveness. For a Ling, actually, we don't see a Ling on the early part of the game to join the clash. So that is one to be considered for Team Singapore. That's why they need to, as much as possible, give the opportunity for this squad to get all the jungle against Team Malaysia.
Yeah, and the Claude here, it's just as much a mobile hero as the Ling. The Ling can walk on the walls with Finch Poise, and Leah on the Claude, he has the BMI, the Battle Mirror image, and I think that's enough. So it's a nice mirror here. Again, the Ling is the anti-funnel. So Claude is one of those heroes that, or core heroes that kind of get away with it. Every other hero, they need to play Flicker, they need to play Purify, but now that I mentioned that, Chantel, he has Purify as well. So he's just really scared of what the Cho and the Kufra can do.
And actually for Team Singapore, we can see a 3-man flicker actually. So this is kind of a problem for the Kufra whenever he wants to dive in against Team Singapore. He needs to make sure that this flicker is already off or the bouncing ball is on point for that engagement to be a successful per se. Because if you have a flicker on your majority of your players, it just means that you really want to disengage whenever there is a team fight.
Yep. And again, you mentioned the magic word, disengage, which these days, or at least in the Razer Sea-Invitational, it's become a part of the meta, right? It's our first time together casting here at the Invitational, but I gotta ask, how do you feel about the evolving meta here, the developing meta? Do you believe in the counterpunch? We've seen it come up in the previous games. I don't know if it's evident in your matchups. Can you talk about that with us?
Actually, for Mobile Legends Bang Bang, we've seen it in different tournaments that there are tendencies wherein the game stretches too long. I mean, very long. On the early part of the game, you are on the upper hand, but then on the latter part of the game, there goes a different story. So for this one, there is an opportunity for every team to turn things around, regardless if the other team is really scoring or killing on the early part of the game. There goes the objective for Team Singapore. Though on the game yesterday, there was this game wherein yes, they are advantages on team fights, but then they forgot or they forget to actually take turrets against the enemy team. So that's one big factor. If you are to get kills, you also have to take objectives.
Yeah, definitely. Playing the objectives, very, very important. We did see a team Vietnam yesterday draft a lineup that just does that, right? Like they will just take turrets. They played the game in about 8 minutes and finished it against Team Brunei. So I think that's what you were talking about. And yeah, definitely, that is something that's developing here. And again, this is one of the largest stages of them all. 2020, it's been a crazy, wild ride. The pandemic shook the world. But nonetheless, this is esports. And I'm glad that Razer is here to pick up where the world left off and still provide us an online avenue for all of the best teams in the Sea region to compete. With that being said, you guys are still watching the second series of the day. A series of two, I'm not sure if I can call it a best of two, but a series of two between Malaysia and Singapore. Before this match goes ahead and unfolds, so far we've been seeing trades, and the lineup is relatively, how do we say, favored for Team Singapore given the draft. All of that out of the way, Chantel, I gotta ask you, who do you think is gonna go take this? Like, who do you think is more likely to go for the 2-0 here?
Actually, that's a different question to answer, knowing that these two teams are really familiar with each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
And if we say you're familiar with each other, you know how to do the macro gaming. You know how to do the micro
Mhm.
also for this one. So I guess for this matchup against, for Malaysia and Singapore, it's all about who's willing to win. That's a big factor actually for this game. The willpower to actually end up the game with a statement. Although for Team Singapore, though, they really need to catch up with their rankings for Group A, because this is day number 2 of a Razer Sea-Invitational. And speaking of which, for this game, for actually the Mobile Legends proper, I'm liking what I'm seeing for the draft pick, because there is the evolution we are seeing. We could see other heroes being picked. Some heroes aren't part of the meta anymore, but there is the progress, and we could see heroes that are not being picked before being played right now. Actually, with the recent patch, there is a light that it is possible to bring about heroes which are already forgotten in the scene.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. But just to answer my own question, I believe that there's a strength in both of them. Real quick, let me just go back, turn around on that. One, I do see how Resurgence here has a great draft. Team Singapore, again, with that single pick on the Valier, just countered a lot of what Malaysia was bringing to the table. But if there is something that I see in Team Malaysia, is that if it comes down to it, the extra mile, again, you mentioned the desire to win. They were so behind in their matchup yesterday, Team Malaysia, against Team Thailand in the second game, but they still turned it around. And I think they had a worse, or like they had the lesser draft. So I'll give the draft to Resurgence, but when it comes down to it on the map, I think just possibly GeekFam has it. So again, it still feels very 50-50.
Yep, yep.
I can't say for sure, but now that you ask it, I'll answer your question now. The evolution of heroes that come back in the meta based on the patch. Who are we looking at? Balmond, Hilda, Gatot Ketcha, right?
Yep, yep.
We see the renaissance of the fighters. Of all these heroes, I believe it's Gatot who might make the most of an impact. Like we've always seen some fringe Gatot Ketcha plays, and of those three heroes I mentioned, I believe we're missing one more. Ruby. I think Ruby is one of the heroes that they also tried to patch up.
Even Hilda, actually.
There you go, Hilda, right? Hilda, Balmond, Gatot Kacha, Ruby, right? There you go. So those four heroes, again, I think it's Gatot who really could be the game changer because of how we've seen some fringe Gatot Kacha plays in the past. And Balmond, it's just his kit is just not there yet. Hilda is a lot like a Uranus slash Esmeralda that needs to go into bushes.
Yep.
With, with
Same with
for
Gatot,
burn.
actually. More on the magical damage that could actually
Yeah.
easily clear minion waves. But again, we are back onto our game. This is 2 minutes and 14 seconds into our game time. Team Malaysia versus Singapore. Actually, Team Malaysia is on the gold lead against Team Singapore.
Yep, and I'm not sure where that kill went. Oh, there it is. Wow, Team Malaysia able to sneak another kill in. And, oh, that was almost another one, but a sneaky BMI out by Leah. Fix building his Raptor Machete already here, 2 minutes, 30 seconds in. Can they convert down bottom? I believe they can. There's not much Sync can do here.
Yep, there's no actually hero coming in from Team Singapore to defend that one. Actually, what we're seeing right now for Team Singapore, all they need to do is to have this Claude get the farm that he needs, because on the late game, I'm sure that Team Singapore is on the upper hand, because the Team Malaysia is actually kind of skill dependent in terms of the player composition or the hero composition here onto a game. But for Team Malaysia, what they are doing right now is that they are very aggressive. You could see that Claude popping that Purify against the Abyssal Arrow coming in from Zorn. But here comes another one. We could see another flicker in or flicker out come from the Valier of Team Singapore. Though there is no objective done with the Dragon here, guys. Plus another damage taken here by Team Singapore. There's the disengage. But the Lynx catches none. But a kill secured for Team Malaysia onto this game. Blazing to it comes in from LY4. Another one coming in. But here goes the Natalia, I mean the Selena of this one. Fix getting killed by Team Singapore onto this game.
Oh no! Oh wow! Look at that off-camera kill by Ozaravecki onto I believe was that Jason? Yeah, right. Okay, so that was a little messy. It was a fight that lasted across the river, even into the Team Singapore's mid lane, a little deep. And now there's another fight up top that was off camera. Zorn takes down Leah, and that was not a shutdown by any means, but it's bad for a Claude to die this early in the game. Now, Arts facing off, and wow, the burst is enough. Sana goes down, Storm gets the kill, and there's the fatal links. They may have stayed too long, Chantel.
What is set coming in from KZP? Actually, that is a counter initiation play coming from Team Singapore. Although we could see here Team Malaysia securing that turtle. So instead of trying to defend or trying to back up the players of Team Malaysia, they opted to go for a trade actually in terms of objective. But also for Team Singapore, though, we could see the damage here come from Claude. It's just that they need to be mindful that they need to protect this Claude in terms of E-fight as much as possible, knowing that they have the Ling or the Selena for their enemy team. They need to be mindful of that. Anyways, on the side, which it's gonna be another team play coming in from both teams. You have the Blazing Duet, although Sync getting a play or getting a kill for the team. Although there is the damage coming from the Lunox of Team Malaysia. It's gonna be 8-6 for the score, 5 minutes and 18 seconds for game time. Sync already out of damage, but the ejector is there, plus the Tempest of Blades coming for Fix. Oh my god! Actually, that is considered to be an error for that Jawhead, because he
threw him in. He threw him in,
Yep.
right? To get the kill. But yeah, again, that was a little bit of a blunder for Team Singapore, but nonetheless, I appreciate the effort for Sana. I know what he was trying to do, but I guess it was too little too late for him to fix that. But yeah, here we see now, Chantel, a little more evident how if Leah keeps this up, stays with the farm, it's so much easier for Team Singapore to plow through Malaysia's lineup. And you're right, Team Malaysia here, they are the ones who have to react if they do get into the late game, because their skills, as you mentioned, they're skill shots, right? You have to hit the arrow, you have to catch people off guard with the Tyrant's Rage, you have to come in at the right angle with the Way of the Dragon on Arts. So if this goes to the late game, if this does extend to somewhere around 20-something minutes, even 30, God forbid, it's going to be a tough match for Malaysia.
Actually, for Team Singapore, I guess they need to give the kills here for Claude, because he has the bounty hunter, and
Oh,
he's
yeah, yeah,
still at
yeah.
tier 1-3, so that's a big factor for LY4 to get the gold that he needs for this squad. But Arts is actually on the verge of killing himself, although we have Natalia dodging away for this one. Another turtle objective for this both teams. We have the Vessel Arrow, which is very painful for Team Singapore actually if they want to take another objective. Speaking of painful, it's Arts getting killed by this Natalia of Team Singapore.
Oh, wow. Chantel, you just mentioned it earlier. Leah needs to get some kills on the Claude. Leah or LY4? I think it's Leah because LY4 is just too hard to say. Now look at this. Taking down the KZP. That's Atlas. Rumpel gets it. It's tank on tank action. So Portal Combat is what like to call it. There's the Blazing Duet.
Oh my God.
Once more gets the finishing touch. Sync is taking everything. But I guess it's better than nothing. So this is a situation wherein you say, we take what we can. And Sync is like, I'm sorry, bro, but I'm the one with the execute. Now, can Feek steal this? He cannot. That's at least a turtle secured here by Team Singapore. Not much Feeks could have done there. But between these two cores, I think Feeks is having a better time.
Yep, actually, although for Team Singapore, we could see the Purify very evident on that last clash, or actually the counter play come from Team Malaysia. And this time around, an off-cam kill, Arts getting a kill for that show onto this game. Also, for this game, we could see Team Malaysia getting that turret killed, but on the middle lane, it's going to be LY4 being killed by Team Malaysia. We have the Abyssal Arrow getting the KZP, but no! Fix secure the kill for Team Malaysia onto this game. While this is happening, we have the Cho securing or getting objectives for Team Singapore and a double kill as well for Fix onto this game. Malaysia, they are very aggressive onto this game. Team Singapore, they don't have the time to actually go for the counter initiate on this one, because that is going to be another kill for Arts onto this Cho again against the Natalia.
Very interesting how Arts just doesn't care about that big fight happening in mid, right? The rest of his team are like sandwiched between two turrets, and I guess there was a big move there by Zorn wherein he hit the arrow on 4, and it was what, a 3-second arrow. It was just the best kind of arrow that you really need to shut down the Claude without a Purify already, and I think that's what allowed Arts to go for the penetrate. Now, this early, 9 minutes. So far, if Singapore does not play defensively the right way, because obviously they are on the back foot here, then this could end very early. And what they want to do, again, we mentioned, is stay in the game. They need to extend this to the point wherein 4 is such a threat. Now they catch KZP in the bush with an arrow, but it's not enough. That isn't Atlas. He's a chunky boy. And look up top now. Art is hunting down Sync.
Okay, this is another kill maybe for Team Malaysia. For Sync, he needs to be careful. But here's the counter initiation. What a damage coming from Team Singapore. But then again, Fix is still alive. The main damager of Team Malaysia is still alive. And speaking of which, for this game, we say that Team Singapore is on the upper hand if ever we enter the late game. For Team Malaysia, they need to, as much as possible, get LY4 down whenever there is a team fight, because whenever LY4 is still alive, the gold is continuing. He acquires the gold in a continuous manner, although we can see here this Fix on that 8k gold for this one, the Berserker's Fury plus the Endless Battle. So that is already an edge for him, because we can see here right now for Claude, it's only the Demon Hunter sword for his item.
Yep, he is building up to the golden staff, but this lord here, interestingly enough, I think Malaysia here, they can go for it. They are at the advantage too, because of the retribution on Feeks. But then again, can't speak too soon. Zorn here just laying down the traps, making sure that no one can all of a sudden jump in. They need the vision. Did they start it up? They let it go. They reset. Now, it's a fight waiting to happen here. It's gonna explode here up top.
We see Team Malaysia getting ready here for this team fight. Although for Team Singapore, we can see, oh my god, that's gonna be the light ultimate coming from this Lunox. Although for Team Singapore, just like what we've been saying earlier, as much as possible, they need this Claude to go online for this team fight. Although he is still at tier 2-5, so the bounty hunter isn't being maximized for this one. We have Sorn low on health, but Fix is there for the backup. Sync is actually on a different different situation or difficult situation for this time, and the Lord is being reset by the both teams. It's still 16-10 for the score, 11 minutes and 35 seconds into our game time.
Okay, you know what? While that team fight was happening, or waiting to happen off of Sync, I think what they were originally trying to do was to get Arts to split push, and that's what that little fight up on the top lane was. They were trying to distract Malaysia or Singapore so that the Cho could push down bottom. So they missed out on that because they sent the Jawhead down bottom, and then they were gonna go for the Lord to allow Arts to do the same thing again, and then obviously that failed because Sync was a little too deep, almost killed Zorn. But now look at this, KCP with a 3-man fatal links, Feeks getting away, but just barely with the Tempest of Blades. Now Ozaroveki is in the target sights. Taken down is Sync. What a throw! What a blowback there, and that's 4 for 1. Sync for everyone but Feeks. What a win for Team Singapore.
Actually, for Team Singapore, that was really a good initiation play coming from KZP plus the Lord objective for this one. Although Ling is still alive for this game, he will try to actually destroy, I guess, that bottom lane turret, inhibitor turret against Team Singapore. Since he has no retribution, we have the immortality here come from the Atlas, but because of that play, Team Singapore now has the opportunity to destroy turrets against Team Malaysia. 9k gold for the squad and 9.4k gold for this link. So the opportunity is here for Team Singapore. All they need to do is to maximize this Lord that they have, which is flowing onto the top lane.
That was impressive. Like one big win right there. That good team fight started by KZP, skyrocketed Leah or LY4 into the same gold level as Feeks. Earlier it was what, 2,000 ahead for the Ling, and because of that blunder, or at least an awesome counter initiate by Singapore, this is looking a little bit more of a competitive matchup. Now, 13 minutes in, Lord is still at pretty good health, about a third in. They need to tear this down. This is a level 1 Lord, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
Putting a bead on this turret, but go ahead, Chantel.
Oh my god, I guess KZP is in a difficult situation right now. We have the bouncing ball. Immortality has been popped. Fix is on the side end, guys, with a mega kill for his lane. Blazing though for LY4. We have Arts on that way up to Dragon. LY4 against 2 players here is now down with a triple kill for Fix onto his lane. What a good counter initiation, counter play here come from Team Malaysia. They defended the Lord and actually took down 3 players, actually 4 players come from Team Singapore onto this game. For this match, it just like what I've said earlier, this is gonna be a really long fight.
It's a turnaround after the turnaround. This is exactly what happened to Team Malaysia earlier, but instead of the assassin support, Zorn, it actually was Rumpel who they traded out for 4 members. But again, what's good about this for Team Singapore is Malaysia cannot convert as well as they should have. Singapore, they took Lord. They pushed in all the way to top, and I think they tried to put at equilibrium the minions in the lanes, and the waves are pushing into their advantage, at least for bottom. So I think Singapore still here has a good chance, but they need to watch out for top. Top is going to be an interesting situation for Singapore, despite them being in the lead.
Yep, actually for Team Singapore, I guess the pressure is on the Natalia side because he needs to, as much as possible, assassinate a certain hero of coming in from Team Malaysia. Although we can see here for this game, he is at 652. So if you are a Natalia, as much as possible, you need to gank a certain hero for you to be able to give space to your team to get the objective, and so on and so forth for this game. Anyways, it's gonna be 21-15 onto this match. For Team Singapore, they really need a good initiation play again coming in from KZP with this Atlas. We saw that earlier, and if they want to win this game, they need to do it another time.
Yep. A lot of this is, again, right now on Sync. Well, if they're not in big team fights, it's on Sync. He has to know where the enemies are, and he has to assassinate the softies like Ozaroveki and Zorn. But yeah, you're right. When it does come down to the big 5v5, 4v5s, it's on KZP. If KZP cannot do KZP things and do what, 3 or 4 man fatal links, then it's gonna be tough for Team Singapore.
Yep, it's gonna be really difficult here for Team Singapore onto the game. We can see actually Team Malaysia on the upper hand in terms of the map control. So I guess for Team Singapore, they need to be mindful of the bushes, or else they will be on a different situation. But again,
Oh.
just like what we've said earlier, Sync should be kind of what do you say, on the safety side of the team. Although we can see here Team Malaysia taking down this Natal, which is supposedly for the map vision or information here for Team Singapore. And here goes the Lord. We have Team Malaysia actually starting that objective against Team Singapore, and this show very difficult for this Team Singapore to defend the Lord, or actually contest the Lord with having the Cho trying to go for a split push and the Abyssal Arrow. It's really difficult for Team Singapore if there is the Abyssal Arrow coming in from Team Malaysia.
Yep, they always have to watch out for it. I think what Team Malaysia has good going for them here is their engages are, they can come from anywhere. They can come from out of nowhere and like at a range that Team Singapore doesn't even know, right? Everything that Team Singapore does has to be a counter punch. It all has to either be from a death bush via ejector, or via a fatal links, or via sync saying, hey, they're over here. We can try to, rotate out of them, get them with the wraparound. But look at this now. This is Zorn just waiting to throw the arrow, looking for that perfect moment. Let's see, how can KZP respond? There's so many minions. It's hard for him to just dive through all of that.
Yeah, and actually we have Sync here on the side lanes. I guess he's ready to go for a gank here or assassinate a player coming in from Team Malaysia. Although the Lord here is onto the middle lane of Team Singapore. We have the Malefic Roar being built here by Fix of this for his Ling. Although Zinc is on a 1v1 onto the top lane. Rumpe getting a kill on his Kufra, guys. Lord is defended on this one, although Team Singapore has no inhibitor turret against Team Malaysia. Oh my god, what a way of the dragon, killing in LY4 onto this game, and I guess this is it for this one. Team Malaysia winning against Singapore.
My God, 4